The grand hall of the Zerelian palace pulsed with low humming lights that shifted from violet to silver, casting tall shadows across the polished floor. Every eye in the room was fixed on the lone human standing before the throne, Captain Marcus. Hail. His heart raced, not with fear but with fierce determination. He had survived impossible odds on worlds unknown. He would not falter now. Across the hall, two alien women knelt, their arms bound in sleek metal cuffs that glowed softly with energy. Marcus had never seen anyone like them. The first, Lyra, had skin the pale green of spring leaves and eyes like melted jade. Her hair fell in tumbling waves of silver blue, and her slender form was draped in ceremonial chains instead of clothing. The second, Soren, was taller and bore midnight black skin flecked with tiny points of white that shimmered like distant stars. Her hair was tightly braided, and a single crimson tattoo curled around her right shoulder. Both wore pride on their faces even as they knelt, pride and sorrow. Before him, Queen Vati of the Zereli watched with a sharp smile. She sat on a throne carved of living crystal, her robes drifting around her like mist. Marcus knew these aliens honored strength and loyalty above all. He had aided them by intercepting a pirate fleet that threatened their homeworld. Their laws now demanded a fitting reward, and so a human was summoned to choose one of these two as his bondmate, a symbol of alliance and favor. "My guest from Earth," the queen intoned, her voice echoing through the hall. "You have fought for our people. You have bled for our safety. Now by Zerelian custom you may claim one of these two women to stand beside you. Choose wisely, for your choice will echo across the stars." Marcus clenched his fists at his sides. He understood the weight of this moment. To choose one would be to honor the bond between their peoples. To refuse would be an insult. But the choice between Lyra and Soren felt impossible. Each beauty spoke of worlds Marcus could barely imagine, and each had suffered chains that cut into her wrists. Silence settled. The court waited for him. Marcus's mind raced. He thought of his crew, the friends who had given their lives so he might live. He thought of Earth, a pale blue dot that depended now on fragile friendships with races like the Zereli. He thought of Lyra's sad eyes and Soren's proud bearing. How could he leave either behind? Queen Vati raised a slender hand, and a hush swept through the hall. "Choose," she said softly. Marcus took a steadying breath. Then he spoke, his voice clear. "Queen Vati, honored Zereli, I will respect your laws, but I cannot choose only one. Both women have given themselves for your people's safety, bound by chains of honor and duty. I see their strength, their sorrow, their worth. I claim them both if your laws allow." A ripple of shock moved through the court. Choosing both was unheard of, an outrageous breach of custom. Some nobles whispered, their faces contorted with disbelief. Others stiffened, hands sliding toward weapons at their belts. Queen Vati's eyes narrowed. For a moment, Marcus feared she would order his execution. Then she laughed, a pure, ringing sound that echoed against the crystal walls. Marcus felt the tension break. "You are bold, human," the queen declared. "You challenge custom and risk dishonor. Yet I admire your courage and compassion. Very well. You may claim them both." She snapped her fingers. With a hiss of released energy, the cuffs around Lyra and Soren unlocked. They rose, trembling, not sure what would come next. Lyra's shoulders shook as she brushed a lock of silver blue hair from her face. Soren's chest swelled with relief, and her dark eyes shone with cautious hope. Marcus stepped forward. "My name's is Marcus Hale, captain of the starship Destiny's Light. Today, I stand not only as a warrior, but as an ally. Lyra, Soren, I vow to protect you both, and through you, I honor the Zereli and Earth alike." Lyra dipped into a graceful bow, and Soren nodded, their chains now loose across the floor. The court erupted in murmurs, some praising, some outraged. Marcus could feel every gaze as Lyra and Soren moved to his side. He offered them quiet smiles, signaling safety. Queen Vati rose from her throne, crystal robes shimmering. "So be it. The Zereli accept your decision. Together you shall help guide our peoples into a new era of cooperation. Let the galaxy hear our alliance. Above the grand doors, banners of Earth and Zirelli unfurled, twisting in the soft breeze from hidden vents. The choice was made. Marcus, Lyra, and Soren would walk forward together into a future as uncertain as the stars, but united by courage, curiosity, and an unbreakable bond. The corridors of the Zirelian palace stretched far and wide, their walls alive with softly pulsing glyphs that glowed like silent constellations. Marcus led Lyra and Soren through the labyrinth of crystal and metal, each step echoing in the hush that followed their departure from the grand hall. Servants and guards bowed as they passed, some still whispering in awe at the unexpected decision to claim both women. Marcus felt every pair of eyes on him, but he did not waver. His mind was already racing ahead, to the mission that lay both, near and far. Outside, the sky of the palace grounds was crisscrossed by floating walkways suspended among bioluminescent vines. Two sleek Zirelian shuttles waited at a landing platform, their hulls shimmering like polished stone. Marcus nodded to the pilot, a stern-eyed officer named Jarek, and the three stepped aboard. The hatch sealed with a soft hiss. Inside, Lyra and Soren found seats facing each other, their wrists still bearing faint reddened marks where the cuffs had been. Marcus took the third seat, fastening his belt. He offered them both reassuring smiles before turning his attention forward. "We head to Iridian Prime," he said. "Word came that a rogue faction plans to sabotage the terraforming reactors there. If they succeed, billions will suffer. We can't let that happen." Lyra's eyes glowed with fierce determination. "I have served in their environmental corps," she explained. "I know the layout of the reactor fields. I can guide us through the security nets." Her voice was quiet but firm, the hint of a song woven through each syllable. Soren leaned forward, her gaze sharp. "I served with the Royal Guard. I know how to breach sealed doors and disable explosive charges. I can handle traps." Her tone was clipped, precise, as if she had already run through every possible scenario in her mind. Marcus nodded gratefully. "Then together, we stand the best chance. Earth's technology and tactics, combined with your knowledge, might save the day." He paused. "I know you both lost much when you were captured. I want you to know I respect your strength and your freedom. You're no reward. You're partners in this fight." Lyra's lips curved into a small, grateful smile. Soren's posture relaxed just a notch, though her guard never fully dropped. The shuttle's engines activated with a soft roar, and they lifted off the platform, rising into the cloudy pink sky above the palace. As they ascended, Marcus sat back and studied his new companions in the shuttle's low light. Lyra hummed a tune under her breath, tracing patterns in the air with her fingertips. Soren tapped her boots against the floor in time with the engines, shifting her braided hair over her shoulder. They were from different worlds, even different castes within their world, but now they shared a common path. "Tell me about your lives before this," Marcus prompted. "I want to know who you are, beyond these chains." Lyra glanced at Soren before speaking. Her green skin glowed in the dim cabin light. "I grew up on the wetlands of Virel," she said softly. "My people valued harmony with nature. I studied botanical engineering, finding ways to help plants grow in harsh climates. I believed I could help heal the planet, but when pirates attacked our research vessel, I was taken. I've dreamed of restoring the wetlands ever since." Soren leaned forward, arms resting on her knees. "I served the Queen directly, safeguarding royal convoys. My father was a soldier and he taught me discipline. I believed in duty above all, until I saw corrupt officers risk tens of thousands of lives for power. I spoke out. They branded me a traitor and chained me here as an example." She paused, eyes dark with memory. "I never imagined freedom felt like this. So strange, yet so right." Marcus listened, his respect growing. These women had sacrificed everything for their beliefs. He unclipped a datapad from his belt and tapped the screen. A holographic map of Iridian Prime appeared between them, showing jagged continents bathed in emerald seas. "We land in 2 hours at the northern reactor field," Marcus said, tracing a route. "Pirates call themselves the Iron Talon. They have drones and mines, but their tactics are crude. If we move fast, we can unearth their plans and stop them before they trigger the Cascade failsafe." Lyra pointed to a cluster of energy nodes. "There's a maintenance tunnel behind Reactor 9. The entrance is hidden beneath a camouflaged panel. That's where they're hiding their remote trigger device." Soren studied the map. "They've placed decoy charges at the south perimeter. If we sneak in from the north, we avoid the main patrols. But after we disable the trigger, we'll need to fight our way out." Marcus tapped a control. The map zoomed out to reveal flight path. "Our shuttle will circle low, cloaked. We rappel, down to the landing zone. Jarek's team will wait in orbit, ready to extract us after we finish." He turned back to them. "Lyra, you lead us through the tunnels. Soren, you handle any explosives. I'll cover both of you. We move as one." Lyra nodded, determination shining in her eyes. Soren allowed a brief, approving grin. Together, they formed an unspoken pact, a triangle of trust that bridged human and alien. Outside the viewport, the stars blinked against the void as the shuttle glided toward the storm-racked world below. Shades of violet lightning danced across the clouds of Iridian Prime. Even through the pain, Marcus could feel the planet's raw energy, a power both beautiful and dangerous. He closed his eyes for a moment, gathering his resolve. The Iron Talon had no idea what they were up against. A human captain with 2 gifted alien allies would be more than enough to outwit them. More than that, Marcus knew the real strength lay in the bond forming between them, their shared hopes, their common fight to protect life. A chime sounded. 2 minutes to drop," Jarek's voice announced over the intercom. The faint hiss of airlocks opening followed. Marcus opened his eyes and nodded to Lyra and Soren. "Well," he said, voice low but steady, "this is where our real test begins. Remember, we're more than a man and 2 women. We're the spark that will light a new chapter for Earth and Zarelli. Let's make it count." Lyra rose gracefully, her silver-blue hair catching the cabin light. Soren flexed her fingers, cracking her knuckles like a blade sliding home. Marcus stood, checking his blaster and blade. The landing ramp descended to the storm-tossed plains below. Together, they stepped into the storm, united by choice, driven by courage, and bound by a promise to stand as one. The hatch sealed behind them, and the shuttle vanished into the swirling clouds. In the pitch dark of the night field, only their silhouettes remained. A human and 2 alien women, ready to reshape fate itself. Rain pummeled the landing platform as Marcus, Lyra, and Soren slid down the shuttle's ramp. Sheets of water hissed against their armor, turning the ground into mud. Occasional flashes of violet lightning split the sky, revealing the jagged peaks of distant mountains. Beneath the storm's roar, Marcus held up a hand so they could hear each other. "Follow Lyra," he shouted. "She knows the tunnel entrance." Lyra led the way, her boots slipping but sure-footed. She moved like a phantom through the gloom, sensing vibrations beneath the mud. Soren and Marcus followed close, their weapons drawn. The storm's harsh winds tried to push them back, but they pressed on, eyes fixed on a faint glow of green energy panels embedded in a rocky outcrop half a mile ahead. When they reached it, Lyra knelt and brushed mud from the panels, revealing ancient glyphs etched in alloy. She tapped 3 times in a secret sequence. The panels sank inward with a low rumble, exposing a dark tunnel mouth. Water dripped from the ceiling like silent tears. Lyra offered a small nod. "This way," she said. Inside, the tunnel curved downward, narrow but tall enough for them to walk upright. The sound of the storm faded to a muffled roar. Lyra held a lantern that bathed the walls in gentle emerald light. Marcus and Soren took turns scanning for traps. Soren's eyes flicked along the walls, detecting lines where wires might hide. Every so often, she paused, brushing her gloved finger along a seam before tapping it with a soft click. Each time she whispered, "Clear." Marcus trusted her instincts. He took point, pistol drawn, scanning each corner. The tunnel smelled of damp stone and old oil. Tiny roots crept through cracks, as if nature itself tried to reclaim the path. Marcus felt a twinge of respect for the way Lyra and Soren adapted, even in unfamiliar tunnels. After 10 minutes, the tunnel opened into a vaulted chamber filled with dusty machinery. 4 large reactor cores glowed pale blue behind transparent shields. A catwalk ringed the chamber floor, lined with control panels and broken consoles. Marcus motioned them forward. Lyra inspected the nearest console, her fingers flying over holokeys. "Security is low here," she said. "They're saving power for the explosive zone deeper in." She punched in codes and opened a sealed door on the opposite side. Beyond it lay an airlock and a steep staircase that descended further. They stepped through the shattered door into another corridor. The walls here were reinforced with metal plating. Red warning lights blinked overhead. Marcus saw broken crates marked, "Explosives, handle with caution." He frowned. "They're using this as their staging area." A faint buzzing echoed ahead. Soren crouched and peered around a corner. "They have 3 guards, 1 by the crates, 2 near the blast doors," she pointed. "They rotate every 2 minutes. Marcus glanced at his watch. "We have 1 minute to act." He signaled Lyra to the left and Soren to the right. "Lyra, disable the lights. Soren, take out the guards by the crates. I'll cover the blast doors." Lyra's hand darted to a small device on her belt. She stuck it to the nearest light panel. With a quiet pulse, all lights blinked off. Darkness swallowed the corridor, save for the storm's pale glow seeping through air vents. The guards paused in confusion. Soren moved like a shadow, silent boots on metal. She reached the guards by the crates and struck one at the base of the neck. The man fell without a cry. The second guard whirled, but Soren caught his wrist and twisted. His weapon clattered to the floor. Marcus heard the muffled thump as Soren subdued him. Both guards were down in seconds. At the same moment, Marcus sprinted toward the blast doors. His beam pistol sliced through the dim light, striking a sensor above the doors. With a hiss, the massive panels slid open. Beyond was a dark vault lined with rows of explosive charges, each rigged with a timer and remote detonation link. Lyra joined Marcus at the blast doors. "They plan to detonate these when the reactor cores go critical," she said, voice tight. "We have less than 10 minutes. She tapped a control panel to display the timers. Green numbers counted down: 08:45, 07:30, 05:12. Soren crouched beside a crate of charges. "I'll handle these," she said. She pulled a tool from her pack, a slender wire cutter with alien inscriptions. She slotted the cutter onto the first charge's remote link and snipped. The bomb's light flickered from red to yellow, then vanished. One less threat. Lyra and Marcus joined her, working side by side. Marcus scanned for hidden triggers while Lyra disabled the timers at the control panel. Soren continued slicing wires. Within 4 minutes, every remote charge lay inert, a pile of useless metal at their feet. Suddenly, alarms blared. A harsh red light flooded the corridor behind them. They heard the angry shouts of reinforcements. Marcus checked his blasters. Energy. Time to go. He offered Lyra his hand. She clasped it gratefully. Soren hefted the wire cutter and nodded. They raced back toward the reactor chamber. The storm's winds howled through broken windows, chilling their bones. Lyra paused at the reactor cores, tapping a hollow interface. Data streamed onto the glass shields. "We disabled the failsafe triggers," she reported. "But the cores are overheating. We must manually adjust the coolant flow." Marcus knelt by a coolant valve and twisted with all his strength. The valve's gear clicked and groaned, but held. Steam hissed as cold fluid surged into the core. Lyra monitored the temperature gauge. The needle dropped from critical red to stable green. Soren helped Marcus close the valve completely. Behind them, the corridor doors burst open. A squad of Iron Talon mercenaries poured through, weapons raised. The first guard halted at the chamber's entrance, awed by the sight of the glowing cores now stabilized. Marcus rose slowly, pistol aimed. Lyra froze where she stood. Soren ducked into the shadows. "Stop!" Marcus shouted. His voice carried authority in the wide chamber. "We come in peace for your world. There is nothing left to blow. One mercenary leveled his rifle. You traitor, he growled. The Queen's laws will not stop us. The Iron Talon reigns. Lyra stepped forward, her green skin luminous in the core's glow. We are here to protect life, she said, voice steady. These bombs would have killed millions of innocents. She raised her hands. Your cause is lost. Soren emerged from the shadows beside Marcus, blade drawn. The mercenaries hesitated, caught between the cold glow of the cores and the blood-red glare of their own anger. Marcus saw their leader signaling a retreat. Sensing victory, Lyra and Marcus advanced in unison. Within moments, the remaining rebels dropped their weapons or fled into the labyrinth of tunnels. The last one turned at the exit and spat on the floor. This isn't over, he snarled. Then he vanished into the darkness. Marcus exhaled, relief flooding him. He looked at Lyra and Soren, both breathing heavily but triumphant. The reactor cores hummed peacefully, their glow steady. Lyra reached out and placed a hand on Marcus's arm. You believed in us, she said softly. Thank you. Her green eyes shone with gratitude. Soren sheathed her blade and shook her head. I fought for honor, she replied. Tonight I found something more. Trust. She offered a small, rare smile. Marcus placed a hand over theirs. We did this together, he said quietly. Earth and Zarelli, human and alien, united against darkness. Thunder rumbled overhead, as if the storm itself applauded. Above them, the transparent shields pulsed with tranquil light. Down the corridor, Lyra's lantern glowed brighter, lighting a path back to the shuttle. Together, they turned toward the exit, three allies bound not by chains but by choice, courage, and the promise of a new alliance. Thunder rumbled overhead as the trio emerged from the tunnel and sprinted toward the waiting shuttle. Rain pounded their armor, washing away the grime of battle. Jarek's shuttle hovered a few meters above the muddy ground, engines cloaking them in mist. Marcus led Lyra and Soren up the ramp, each breath ragged but their spirits high. Inside, Lyra collapsed onto a bench, her silver-blue hair plastered to her face. Soren took another moment to survey the storm's fury outside the viewing port, before dropping beside her. Marcus checked the seals and signaled Jarek to lift off. The shuttle rose smoothly, slipping past lightning forks that etched the clouded sky. As the shuttle banked toward orbit, Lyra let out a sigh. The reactors will cool now, she said, voice soft. You saved millions, Marcus. She met his eyes. I owe you far more than my life. Marcus managed a tired smile. We saved each other, he replied. Your knowledge, Soren's skills. Without both of you, I'd have failed. Soren nodded, arms crossed. I was sure the Queen's justice would condemn me, she admitted. Instead, you showed mercy and trust. I never knew freedom could feel so whole. Marcus glanced at her. Freedom without purpose can feel empty, he said. Now we fight together for a cause larger than ourselves. Jarek's voice crackled over the comm. Approaching. Extraction point in 2 minutes. Zarellian frigate Valiant is standing by. The cockpit lights shifted as the shuttle aligned with the massive warship's docking bay. Lyra wiped rainwater from her cheeks. The Queen will be pleased, she murmured. But I fear the Iron Talon will not surrender so easily. She tapped her comm. We must warn the Valiant's command. There may be more saboteurs in the reactor network. Marcus nodded and spoke into his comm. Captain Hale to Commander Orc aboard Valiant. We've neutralized the initial threat. Recommend increased patrols on high-priority infrastructure. A deep voice crackled back. Understood, Captain Hale. We'll deploy 2 squadrons immediately. The shuttle docked with a smooth hiss. Marcus stood, offering Lyra and Soren his arms to steady them. They followed him down the ramp and into the busy bay, where crews hurried to refuel and rearm the craft. The cavernous space echoed with metallic clangs and muffled shouts. A tall figure approached. Commander Arlen Auric, his Zarellian uniform crisp and adorned with medals. His silver hair was pulled into a tight braid and his gaze was sharp. He stopped before Marcus, saluted, then lowered his hand. "Well done, Captain," Orcs said. He glanced at Lyra and Soren. "And you have my gratitude, honored guests. Your actions tonight will be recorded in the annals of the Zarelli." Lyra bowed her head. "Thank you, Commander." Soren nodded. "We only did what was right." Oric's eyes flicked to Marcus. "Queen Vathi will want to debrief you personally. She summons you both to the palace at first light. Expect a feast and audience." Marcus inclined his head. "We'll be ready." As he turned to leave, Oric called softly, "Captain Hale, more troubles brew. Intelligence intercepts hint at traitors within our own ranks, working with the Iron. Talon, be cautious." Marcus paused at the shuttle's ramp. "Understood," he said. The words chilled him more than the rain. At dawn, the palace gardens were a riot of color. Petals weighed down by raindrops glinted in the pale sunlight. Marcus, Lyra, and Soren walked along winding paths of marble mosaic, the sweet scent of alien blossoms filling the air. Servant drones hovered overhead, quietly trimming hedges and tending to fountains. They entered the crystal hall once more, different from the night before. Now it radiated warmth. The violet light softened to rose hues. Queen Vathi sat on her throne, regal as ever, but her expression was unreadable. "Welcome," she said, voice gentle. "Come forward." Behind her, advisors and nobles watched, intently. Marcus knelt before Vathi, Lyra, and Soren on either side. The queen rose and extended a hand. Marcus took it, rising to his feet. Vathi's eyes gleamed with interest. "You have upheld Zarelian honor," she began. "Yet Commander Oric warns of traitors among us. Those who plotted to destroy our reactors may have allies within the palace." She turned her gaze to the assembly. "My counsel, reveal what you know." An elder minister stepped forward, robes shimmering silver. "Your Majesty, we intercepted communications linking minister, rank of logistics to the Iron Talon supply lines. He granted them access codes to several facilities." Gasps moved through the court. Lyra's eyes widened. Soren's hand twitched near her blade. Marcus felt a knot tighten in his chest. Queen Vathi's lips curved into a thin smile. "Minister, rank," she said, voice cold as ice. "Your loyalty is in question. State your defense." Minister Rank's face flushed crimson. "Your Majesty, I swear I serve the Zarelli. Any errors in supply were sabotage, planted evidence." He looked to Marcus. "Captain, you have the word of an accused traitor. How do you judge this?" Marcus stepped forward. He met Rank's gaze, then looked to the Queen. "I witnessed only the Iron Talon's sabotage on Iridian Prime, but traitors often cloak themselves behind loyalty. If Minister Rank had access codes, that would explain how the saboteurs bypassed security." He turned to Lyra. "You logged the supply routes in your archives. Can you confirm his involvement?" Lyra closed her eyes. "Yes," she whispered. "Rank's shipments showed irregular cargo, explosives mislabeled as agricultural drones. I flagged the records, but they were overwritten." She opened her green eyes, filled with resolve. "He is guilty." A stunned hush filled the hall. Soren's shoulders relaxed, her grip on her weapon easing. Queen Vathi regarded Ranks with glacial calm. "Minister Rank," she said, voice low but heavy, "you will be detained pending trial. Your titles revoked." Royal guards moved forward, seizing him before he could protest. Ranks stared at Marcus, then at Lyra, anger burning in his eyes. Queen Vathi turned to Marcus. "Your honesty has saved us from deeper treachery. For this we honor you and your allies." She raised her hand and the chamber doors opened to reveal tables laden with exotic fruits, aromatic breads, and glowing crystal goblets filled with sweet Zarelian nectar. A feast prepared overnight. Lyra allowed herself a small, genuine smile. Soren nodded appreciatively, though her expression remained guarded. Marcus bowed. "Your Majesty, we are grateful." He looked to Lyra and Soren. "Shall we?" He gestured to the tables. They followed him forward, feeling the weight of the palace's trust in their shoulders. As they ate, Whispers turned to murmurs of approval. Outside, the gardens basked in morning light, the storm behind them, yet new storms of betrayal had been uncovered. Marcus realized the path ahead was fraught with hidden dangers. But with Lyra and Soren by his side, and a queen's favor, they would face whatever shadows emerged, forging a lasting alliance between Earth and the Zirelli. The grandeur of the banquet gave way to tense undercurrents as Marcus, Lyra, and Soren took their seats at the long crystalline table. Queen Vati raised a goblet of glowing nectar. "To new alliances," she announced, voice warm. "May Earth and Zirelli stand together against all threats." The court echoed her toast. Marcus sipped, feeling cool sweetness flood his senses. He glanced at Lyra, whose green eyes reflected cautious optimism. Soren studied the guests, searching for other hints of betrayal. The hall buzzed with polite chatter. Ambassadors from neighboring systems, high-ranking officers, and scholars, all formerly skeptical, now conspiring in hushed speculation over Minister Renk's downfall. Between bites of spiced fruit, Marcus leaned toward Lyra. "We still don't know how deep the Iron Talon's roots run," he murmured. "Renk was one node. There could be more." Lyra nodded. Their communications indicated cells on several planets. They aimed to destabilize the Zirelli to sow chaos across the Alliance. She studied the nearest advisor, a slender man whose polished robes hid a subtle tremor. "That man over there, Minister Salen, he oversaw intelligence oversight. He looks guilty of something." Soren's gaze followed Lyra's. "He was at the same table as Renk during supply meetings," she added. "I saw them confer." Soren turned to Marcus. "We should interrogate him discreetly before he slips away." Marcus weighed the risk. Openly accusing another minister could shatter the fragile trust they'd built, but waiting risked more sabotage. He caught Queen Vati's eye across the table. She was speaking with Commander Orc, her expression grave. Orc gave a slight nod and stood, then excused himself. Vati's gaze flicked back to Marcus. Her raised eyebrow seemed to ask for his counsel. Marcus cleared his throat. "Your Majesty," he said, "the Iron Talon's network may extend further. I recommend a covert investigation of Minister Salen to confirm if he aided Renk." He kept his tone, measured, respectful. Vati's lips curved in a thin smile. "Astute, Captain Hale. We will not let traitors hide in plain sight." She tapped her goblet. Servant drones hovered next to her chair, awaiting her command. "Orc, oversee the investigation. Captain, you and your allies will assist." Commander Orc returned at a nod. He stood beside Marcus. "We move now before word spreads." His deep voice barely reached their table. "Salen often retreats to the archives late at night. We can intercept him there." Lyra set down her fork. "I know the way," she said. "Salen's office connects to the restricted archive wing through a servant's passage." She smiled with wolfish cunning. "They think no one else knows." Soren closed her eyes in concentration. "I can pick the lock to the archive vestibule. It's old, unused for decades." She tapped a small toolkit at her belt. "We'll have seconds before alarms trigger." The plan formed quickly. After the feast, Marcus feigned fatigue and excused himself, retreating to a nearby corridor. Lyra and Soren slipped away under the pretense of attending to palace duties. Orc remained in the banquet hall to keep the nobility distracted. Hour later, the palace corridors lay silent. Marcus met Lyra and Soren in a shadowed alcove near the archives. The servants' passage entrance stood hidden behind a tapestry of silver vines. Lyra approached and murmured a phrase in Zirelian, an opening command. The tapestry shimmered and slid aside, revealing a narrow stone corridor lit by dim sconces. They crept inside. Soren held her breath as she set to work on the ancient lock. Whispers of movement drifted from the end of the corridor. Marcus pressed close, listening. Through the door to Salen's office, he heard the minister's voice, low and urgent. Lyra whispered, "He's here." Soren clicked the lock open. They slipped into the servants' corridor, silent as ghosts. Ahead, two guards stood at a junction, chatting quietly. Marcus raised his hand. Lyra cast a small shadow-silencing drone at their feet. It emitted a low pulse that lured them away with a soft chirp. The guards followed the drone's slow movements, stepping down the corridor. With the path clear, the trio pressed on. The servants' passage curved, opening directly into the archive's vestibule. Endless rows of illuminated holocrates stood packed together. Dossiers, communication logs, personnel files. At the far end, Minister Saline crouched before a holo console. Typing rapidly, Marcus slipped beside him, pistol raised. "Minister Salin," he said, voice firm. "Hands where I can see them." Salin sprang up, shock in his pale blue eyes. "Captain Hale?" he stammered. "This is treason. You have no right." Lyra gestured to the console screen. "Explain why you're deleting rank supply logs," she said. Salin's face paled. I only fixed clerical errors. There was no sabotage." He stepped toward them, desperation in his voice. "You don't understand. If the council believes the Iron Talon infiltrated the palace, the entire government collapses. Chaos will spread. I did what I had to." Soren stepped forward, blade drawn. "Your chaos would kill more. Millions died on Iridian Prime because of your thoughtless cover-up." Salin backed away. He looked around the archives as if searching for escape. His hand darted for a comm badge. Marcus fired a stun round that crackled through the air, striking Salin's shoulder. The minister fell to his knees, convulsing as the energy pulse surged through him. Lyra tapped the holo console, reversing the deletion commands. Files restored with a flick of her finger. She pulled the data drive from her belt and inserted it into the console, downloading all evidence, messages between Rank and Talon, Salin's orders, and network logs. As the download completed, an alarm blared down the corridor, an unmistakable security alert. Red lights flashed. Marcus grabbed Salin by the collar. "We have what we need," he shouted. "Let's move." Soren hoisted Salin to his feet and cuffed his wrists with energy binders. Lyra ejected the data drive and slipped it into her pocket. They dashed back into the servants' passage, alarms echoing behind them. Down in the banquet hall, Orc barked orders to guards flooding toward the archives. Marcus, Lyra, and Soren slipped out a side door and into the palace gardens. The morning sky had given way to a pale dawn. Hedges dripped with dew, petals trembling in the breeze. Marcus paused at a fountain. Salin lay on the ground beside them, groaning. "Your Majesty's judgment awaits him," Marcus said, voice low. He stepped forward and tapped his comm. "Commander, Orc, we have the traitor. Send a detachment to secure him." Lyra knelt beside Saline and gently pressed her hand to his chest. The energy cuffs glowed, holding him in place. "It's over," she whispered. Saline's eyes flickered. He gasped. You'll regret this. The Talon." His voice trailed off as guards approached and seized him. Marcus watched them carry Salin away. He turned to Lyra and Soren. "You two were incredible," he said quietly. "Without you, we'd still be in that chamber, dead or captured." Lyra's green eyes held admiration. "We fight for justice," she said softly, "and for our people." She looked toward the palace. "Now the Queen can root out every traitor." Soren sheathed her blade. "But we have more work ahead," she reminded. "The Iron Talon will strike back. We must be ready." Marcus nodded, determination firm in his chest. "Then we finish this. Together." He placed his hands on their shoulders. "Earth and Zirelli, united by choice, courage, and trust. We will not fail." Above them, the sunrise broke through scattered clouds. Light spilled over the palace, garden, illuminating the path ahead. With traitors unmasked and bonds strengthened, Marcus, Lyra, and Soren prepared for the next battle in a war that would shape the fate of two worlds. The Zirelian frigate Valiant hung in orbit above the glittering surface of Iridian Prime. Its sleek hull reflected distant starlight, and docking bays bustled with patrol shuttles and support vessels. Marcus, Lyra, and Soren strode down a corridor, toward the command center, their boots echoing on polished alloy floors. Each bore the weight of the previous victories, and the knowledge that the Iron Talon would retaliate. Commander Orc awaited them at the bridge entrance. His silver braid swung over a crisp uniform decorated with campaign ribbons. The bridge's hollow screens displayed sensor sweeps across the sector. Several Talon ships had appeared near the planet's night side, cloaked by the storm's electromagnetic turbulence. "Captain Hale," Orc greeted, voice grave. "The Iron Talon fleet moves to blockade Valiant Station and prevent our reinforcements. They intend to starve us into submission." He swept his gaze across the looming plan. "We must break through or risk losing our foothold." Lyra frowned. "Their ships are fast but lightly armored. We can use our corvettes to outflank them, hit their supply lines in hit-and-run strikes." She tapped a control holo panel displaying schematics. "If we divert part of the fleet to sweep the southern asteroid field, we can ambush them," Soren added. "Their communications rely on a single relay station in the debris belt. If we disable it, they lose coordination." Her voice was calm, precise. She already ran through the steps in her mind. Marcus met Oric's eyes. "We need a two-pronged approach. Lyra leads the corvettes. Soren and I will infiltrate the relay station via stealth shuttle and plant charges." He glanced at both women. "Are you in?" Lyra's emerald gaze shone. "Give me the corvettes. I'll draw them into the field." Soren nodded. "I'll ready the charges. The station's airlock is standard Zerelian tech. I can bypass it quickly." Oric pursed his lips, then nodded. "Agreed. Captain, you have 40 minutes to prepare. May your strike be swift." On the corvette deck, Lyra stood before rows of eager pilots. Her pale green skin and silver-blue hair brushed against a polished console as she addressed the crew. "We run a feint to the east. When the Talon frigates disengage from Valiant, you flank through the asteroid field, hit their pontoons, then pull back." The corvette captains exchanged determined nods. Instruments hummed to life as Lyra boarded her personal fighter. She exchanged a quick salute with her co-pilot, a young lieutenant named Kevin. "Let's show them what Zerelian Earth can do together," she said, settling into the cockpit. Meanwhile, in a stealth shuttle hangar, Marcus and Soren prepared for the second mission. The shuttle's matte black hull absorbed overhead lights. Its name, Shadow's Reach, was painted in faint silver on the side. Soren loaded magnetic charges into a rack. "One blast at each comm array node," she murmured. "That will fry their systems." Marcus strapped into the pilot's seat. His eyes flicked over the readouts. "Ready when you are." Soren climbed aboard and settled beside him. "I'll handle the charges. Once we're docked, follow my lead." The hangar bay doors opened to the void. Shadow's Reach slipped out, engines humming without flare. Marcus angled the shuttle toward the debris belt that floated between two moons, where the Talon's relay station perched atop a derelict station scavenged from ancient war. Lyra's corvettes leaped into hyperspace, reappearing behind the Talon frigates as predicted. Pulses of energy flared as she and her pilots strafed the lightly armored hulls, drawing their attention. Explosions bloomed across their pontoons. Torpedoes screamed past, but Lyra danced through the field, weaving between rock and fire. On the queue, frigate Valiant, Marcus monitored the skirmish through holoscreens. "Lyra's drawing them away," he noted, voice tense. "Soren, we're in position." Soren peered at the monitor. "We match their beacon signal. We dock in 30 seconds. The stealth shuttle's magnetic clamps latched onto the relay station's hull with a soft clank. Marcus opened the airlock and pushed Soren forward. She gripped his arm. "Stay close." They moved through the station's dark corridors, lit by flickering emergency lamps. Metal groaned as the station trembled from combat above. At each junction, Soren placed tiny charges, silent flechettes bristling with power. Marcus covered her, pistol drawn, scanning for patrolling guards. A Talon Marine rounded a corner, rifle raised. Marcus fired a stun round, sending the guard crumpling to the floor. Soren ducked behind a console, pulling a data module from her pack. She inserted it into a comm node and tapped. "Transmitting false orders to recall their fleet," she whispered. "They'll pull back." Marcus eyed the timer on the final charge. 3 minutes until they reroute. He moved to the last array, a tall obelisk of consoles. It hummed, with signal strength. Soren snapped 2 charges onto the central control rod, her fingers steady. Suddenly, alarms blared. Red lights bathed the corridor. Marcus cursed. They caught C-Shift. He pulled Soren behind a bulkhead just as armed Marines poured in, shouted orders echoing. Soren's voice was calm. Finish the hack. She punched in commands on the data module. A progress bar inched forward. Marcus fired stun bolts in rapid succession, keeping the Marines at bay. Their rifles sparked on his energy shield. Bullets pinged off the wall. Each second stretched as their numbers swelled. Done, Soren called. The module ejected. They'll recall. Fast. She dove toward the exit, dragging Marcus. Detonation timer ticked down. 3, 2, 1. A muffled roar shook the station as the 3 charges exploded. Power conduits snapped. Plasma arcs danced through shattered panels. The relay station's lights died. Communication grids winked out, leaving only emergency beacons. In orbit, the Talon fleet's hollow signals blinked off. Their corvettes reversed course. As they withdrew from Xerelian space, Lyra's corvette swept in for cleanup strikes. Valiant's captain breathed relief. Onboard speakers crackled. All clear, blockade lifted. Back on Shadow's Reach, Marcus and Soren hurled into the docking bay as the shuttle's engines roared. Guards rushed past, uncertain what to do. Marcus grabbed Soren's hand. To the launch deck. They sprinted up maintenance ladders, each landing glancing off the hull's curvature. At the final hatch, Soren hacked the controls. The bay, doors open to Valiant's deck. Lyra was waiting, single pilot helmet removed, her face streaked with sweat. Glad to see you. She offered each a hand. Marcus took hers gratefully. We did it. Soren joined them, chest heaving. We cut their lifeline. The Iron Talon retreats. Lyra's gaze drifted to the star-speckled void. They'll regather and strike again, she warned. But tonight we hold the line. She turned back to Marcus and Soren. Thank you for trusting me with your lives. Marcus nodded. Trust earned through action. He looked from Lyra to Soren. Together we are stronger than any enemy. Soren cracked a rare, genuine grin. That's the HFY way. Above them, Valiant's decks echoed with cheers. The alliance of human ingenuity and Xerelian skill had triumphed, but the war was far from over. As the stars wheeled in silent tribute, Marcus, Lyra, and Soren prepared for the final push to root out the Iron Talon once and for all. The aftermath of the Talon's retreat left the decks of the Valiant alive with activity. Crews cheered in corridors, engineers hurried to repair battle damage, and medics tended to the lightly wounded. Above it all, Marcus, Lyra, and Soren stood on the observation deck, gazing at the emerald planet below and the sea of stars beyond. They had fought side by side, and now the final tasks remained. Dismantle the Iron Talon's network and forge an alliance strong enough to last. Commander Orc joined them, his uniform smudged with grease, but his posture proud. Queen Vati has dispatched the royal envoy to formalize peace treaties with neighboring systems. With the Talon in disarray, we have a window to secure stability. He turned to Marcus. You will lead the envoy. Lyra and Soren accompany you as honored representatives. Marcus nodded. We will carry Earth's gratitude and offer our hand in lasting friendship. He looked at Lyra and Soren. Shall we be the bridge between worlds? Lyra's pale green face lit with determination. Together, we will ensure no one ever fears the mention of Earthborn units again. Soren placed her hand on Marcus's shoulder. We began as chains and choice. Now we stand free, united by trust. The Royal Envoy Assembly took place on the Palace of Unity, a gleaming spire built where the Xereli and human architects had merged their styles. Tall arches of crystal-framed banners of both nations. Beneath them, delegations from half a dozen systems gathered. Marcus, Lyra, and Soren entered together, processional drums echoing. Queen Vati rose from her seat of honor, flanked by Earth's Ambassador Delgado. She raised her voice so all could hear. Today, we celebrate not only victory over the Iron Talon, but the bond that formed in adversity. Let this union of human courage and Xyrelian wisdom be a beacon to the galaxy. Applause rippled through the crowd. Ambassador Delgado stepped forward. On behalf of Earth, I extend our deepest thanks to the Xyreli. Together we face threats beyond any single world. Let our alliance be the foundation of peace and progress. Lyra and Soren bowed. Then Marcus spoke, his tone both earnest and hopeful. We fought storms of fire and waves of betrayal, and found allies in each other. We stand here not as conquerors or subjects, but as equals. The strength of our bond lies in respect, trust, and shared purpose. Let us build a future where humanity and the Xyreli, and all our partners, thrive together. A murmur of approval swept the chamber. Holographic screens flickered to life, displaying signatures of treaties. Galactic Trade Accord, Defense Pact, Cultural Exchange Program. With each signature, systems pledged ships, resources, and scholars. Festivities would last for cycles, yet work had only just begun. Later, as twilight settled on the palace gardens, Marcus, Lyra, and Soren walked along a marble bridge arching over a crystalline pool. Soft lanterns reflected in the water, and alien blooms perfumed the air. Lyra gathered a glowing petal. Our journey began with chains, she mused. Now we forge chains of trust stronger than any metal. She placed the petal in Marcus's hand. Soren smiled as she traced constellations in the sky. I once believed duty demanded obedience at all costs, but true duty is protecting the innocent, and that requires questioning wrongs. She turned to Marcus. Thank you for giving me that purpose. Marcus closed his hand around the petal. I chose both of you when tradition said I could not. That decision changed everything. He looked from Lyra to Soren. You both saved lives and restored hope. I am proud to call you friends and allies. They paused at the pool's edge. Lyra dipped her finger in the water. Ripples spread outward. Where do we go from here? She asked softly. Marcus inhaled the night air. We continue to stand together, whether in battle or peace. We mentor new captains, train diplomats, and share knowledge. We ensure the galaxy remembers this day as the dawn of unity. He released the petal onto the water. It floated, glowing, softly. Soren placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder. We will face new challenges. Raiders, political unrest, cosmic anomalies. She grinned. But we've already beaten worse odds. Lyra linked arms with them both. To infinity, then, and beyond. The three stood together as starlight danced on the water's surface. They had begun as a man and two chained women. They ended as chosen partners, champions of a new era. And in the vast galaxy, the whisper of Earthborn units would inspire awe and hope for generations to come.